John, it's here. It is here. It is here. It is here. Less than a day away. Well, about a day away. We're shooting this on a Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
This is In the Lab, presented by Xfinity. I'm Drew Dougherty. You're John Harris, and you're you. The three of us together are going to embark on a fun little mock draft simulation. We've done these throughout the spring and winter. It's never really winter in Houston, but anyways, it was winter on the calendar in Houston, and this will be the last one. Are you excited?
Yes and no. You know, Drew, people say this to me all the time. It's like, this is like your Christmas. I'm like, man, what kind of Christmas do you guys have? Because I'm on live radio for like 17 hours over the weekend. I'm writing all kinds of articles. I'm doing all kinds of writing. I don't know about your Christmas, man, but mine don't look like that. My Christmas is sit on the couch, eat a bunch of candy and cakes and good food, and watch football and basketball all day.
Unless Beyonce and the Texans are performing.
No, that's a different story. Then it's work, and I like that work. But this is work. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, all basically it's like exams. I'm doing all the prep work for the exam. So once I get to the exam, I got all the answers to the test questions. But I think what's fun about this, Drew, is you know this is lying season. Who's telling the truth? Who's not? You could trade up. You could trade down. You could stick and pick. Those are the three options basically. So I'm curious to see who's been lying to us this whole time, and not the Texans so much, but who's been telling the truth about these particular players, and then what do you find out after the draft? Like, oh, well, I didn't know that guy committed murder, and that's why he fell to the 7th round. You just find out some of those things too. So hopefully that's not the case for anybody in this draft, but it does unearth the lies, if you will, once the draft is over.
It's going to be fun to see. I can't wait. So this is Wednesday we're doing this, releasing it Wednesday afternoon, this podcast. On Thursday, around lunchtime, the final mock draft roundup will come out.
Oh.
And you might say, well, why don't you just put it out today? Well, because many mock drafters, a significant amount of mock drafters don't release theirs until Thursday morning, Thursday late morning.
Yeah.
So you want to get the most relevant ones in, and that will come out. And then there's always some folks that are pretty big timers, and they only do one, and they wait till this week, or they wait till tomorrow. So it's coming together. It's coming together. It'll be out around lunchtime. I'm not going to say 11. I'm not going to say noon. I'm not going to say 1 because it might not be any of those. It might be something else.
Around that
So just be ready. Look out for it. It'll be on your Twitter feed, and it'll be a lot of fun. But the way it's going right now, offensive line is going to be the pick in the minds of the mockers. But there's only one mind, ultimately, that matters, and Nick Caserio will make that call on Thursday evening.
Yes. Do you like the fact I'm paying homage with my my vest today? So
good looking vest.
Yeah.
Stylish. So with all that in mind, since we're talking about minds, and our minds are nice, but they're not the ones that make the decision, but we're going to try and get inside the mind of the man who's making the decision, but that's still impossible. But nevertheless, let's do a mock draft simulation for the final time in 2025, and let's share the screen, and let's go to profootballnetwork.com. Want to make sure we let our friends there know how much we appreciate, how much fun we have, and how they've created an addiction for us. So,
that's a good way of putting it, an addiction.
Thank you for getting me hooked in your football NFL draft crack.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're doing 7 rounds, as you see me circling there. We always do fast because if you do anything other than fast, you're a sucker MC. And we clicked on the Texans, and we're entering our solo draft. And here we go.
Let's start it. Cameron Ward goes number 1 to the Tennessee Titans. No big surprise.
Names fly off the board and trades come up. I see one from the Bengals wanting 25 and 241 for 49, 81, and a 2 next year. I think that's a little too little. And then kind of one from the Chargers that I also think is a little too little. It's a lot, but I want to take the pick. And we see Derek Harmon there, and Derek Harmon I think is going to be a really good pro.
Yep.
I think he's going to be a productive guy. He's enticing. But the name right below him, John, Tyler Booker, is by all accounts the best guard in the draft. Maybe the best lineman. You could make that argument. Probably not, but he's there. He went to Alabama. Will Anderson has gushed about him. Many others have gushed about him. You've told the story many times how the folks at Alabama rave about his leadership. And then on top of it, he's a fantastic player. Is this the pick? Is it too much of a no-brainer? Because Ibuka's there, Gray Zabel's there.
Those 5 picks, those 5 players that we see, Harmon at 18 for them, Booker 24, Nolan 26, Zabel 27, Emeka Egbuka 29. Any of those five, I would feel, even Walter Nolan, I know he's had some, there are always some, anger issues, whatever you want to call them, just frustration.
Be just fine, and Danny, you'd wipe your hands and say, that's a cool pick. I'm fine with it.
I'd be okay with that because I think they would surround him in a locker room and really make the most of that. But you know what I've said. Booker, no matter what's Booker or Golden, no matter what for me. So Booker's there. I think I'm so glad to see him there. Let's snatch him up at 25.
All
now,
right. A couple of Gen Xers, you and me. It's not Booker. It's not Richard Grieco Booker. It's Tyler Booker.
Not Booker T.
Alabama. Not Booker T. We love Booker T. Man.
Okay, now we're on to 58 in the second round.
Cowboys want to trade. Get bent, Cowboys. We're not giving up that for that little offer.
Cowboys offering 76 and a third
now,
for this pick.
This is enticing from Cleveland. They're offering you to move back just a bit. So you move into the third, but it's the top of the third.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add pick 94 for pick 166. And
another late third.
I'm intrigued by that, but let's look who's on the board, John.
Yeah.
This name, Kenneth Grant, enticing.
At 58.
The 39 right below, Travion Henderson. That's my draft crush. I mean, and I even texted you during games this year.
Yep.
Man, I like that Travion Henderson.
Yep.
Then there's some other names down there. Mason Taylor, pretty good tight end. TJ Sanders, defensive tackle. I'm going to defer to you on this one. It's between Kenneth Grant and Travion Henderson, and I make Henderson the call, but I will defer to you. You got to make this call.
Now, I have Kenneth Grant rated higher than I do Travion Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think Kenneth Grant would definitely help. Now, I feel like Henderson's a home run hitter you don't have offensively.
Love home run
hitters. You know how we kind of had to slog through offensively last year, especially after Steph went down.
Mm-hmm.
It was a slog. It was hard. We didn't have any really kind of home run hitters seemingly. Joe's a home run hitter, but Joe has to be the F-150. You can't just go bring the Maserati out for a little day drive when you need it.
The F-150 does not do 185.
But Joe's got game-breaking abilities, no question. I don't want to overlook that. But I just feel like, man, we need some big plays. Henderson's a guy that can create it. Drew, I'm actually going to defer to you on this one because I think Travion Henderson would be, as much as I think Trench is a lot, I think Henderson being there at 58, I would want to jump all over this.
Kenneth Grant, love you. I hope you go to an NFC team and don't haunt our dreams for the next decade or so, but let's go with
you know where Kenneth Grant's going. Look at this. Look at the pick right after ours, 59.
Ravens, yeah.
Watch this. Go ahead and pick Henderson and see what happens. He didn't go, but he went a couple of picks before that, a couple picks after that. So not too surprising, but I could see the Ravens jumping over Kenneth Grant.
We don't want to move back 20 and add a third.
We're now at 79. No, we don't want to do that.
We don't want to do this one either, 15. So let's make a pick. Jackson Dart's still there. I bet he goes before this. I don't think he goes.
Yeah, I don't think he gets
to
this
point. Kind of put an asterisk by this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Taylor, you like him? Tight end, LSU?
Yeah, I mean, I've comped him to Dalton Schultz, and I think Mason's probably a little bit of a better blocker at this point, maybe than Dalton was, but I don't know if that's a little redundant tight end wise. I don't know. Right. I mean, look, Terrence Ferguson's
he's down there.
Terrence Ferguson from Oregon is still on the board. I really liked watching him at the Senior Bowl. In fact, I've got those two graded about the same. I mean, I don't think there's as much gap between Mason Taylor and Terrence Ferguson. Harold Fanta Jr. is an interesting one, but I think you kind of have Harold Fanta Jr. in Brevin Jordan. And I know Brev's coming back off of the knee injury, but I think Fannin would fit for a number of teams. And if the Texans end up taking him, I could see them using him. He's kind of an interesting dude, kind of a tight end, H-back move guy. I don't even think – it's just tight end. He's not really a wide tight end. I mean, he's kind of a fullback move guy, which is kind of what Brev's done. It's kind of what Cade Stover did last year. But pick the 72 right there on their board.
That's the one. Jared Wilson.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier, I've got a crush on Travion Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Jared Wilson, I liked.
Yeah.
And then I heard you say, well, he's probably the best center in this draft.
Yeah, he's the best center in this draft. I mean, I think he's a pure center.
Now, does he come in and start as a center?
Now, that's a great point. I think there's going to be one hell of a competition, and I think some of it has to do with we got Booker. Booker's a guard, so he's going to play guard. So does Booker's presence push Titus back out to tackle? I don't think it does. I think a guard combo of Titus and Booker would be really, really fun. So then at that point, you've got now a competition of Jared Patterson, Drew Scruggs, who's a second-rounder a few years ago, drafted both of them in 2023. And then if you were to draft Wilson, the point to me is if I take a third-round pick in Wilson, but it guarantees me that one of the three becomes a quality center for this team, then I'm all for it. And whether it be Wilson or Juice or Jared or whomever.
You're raising the tides of the votes. I want to do this.
I really have been kind of high on Jared Wilson after watching
every single time I've had a draft where he's available around here, I've taken him.
Okay, good.
And there's been other guys that have been attracted.
Let's do it. Keep
Collins,
going trenches. Let's go.
Alfred Collins is the only one that kind of makes me pause here, but I'm going for – you're telling me he's a starting center or he's going to yield a starting center? Let's do it.
Here's the thing, too. With the centers or the interior offensive linemen, I just don't find the depth there. So get the depth there. Go and get the highest rated guy you can get there. Interior defensive lineman 9, 10, 11 is still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So I think you can get a defensive lineman. I think there will still be guys on the board 10 picks later that we can look at and be very happy with. And maybe Alfred Collins is still on the board. Maybe not. I can't see whether he came off the board or not. But I think Alfred Collins would be a guy I could look at 79. I could look at 89. That would be a guy. But I think interior defensive line, there's just so many of them in this draft. It's such a good class that I would take Wilson there and then look maybe at interior defensive line at this pick.
Okay. This has been an unrealistic draft so far for the Texans because we haven't made any trades.
We have not.
But here's a scenario in which I would make this trade.
Okay, let's take a look.
I want to hear what you say. I mean, how do you not do this? Okay,
we're sitting at 89.
You move back 3 to get 92. And
yeah.
I mean, almost 33.
I like that.
To go to 137 with the Seahawks.
Let's do it.
I like names on the board now. Listen, this does give me. I like Jaden Higgins. Do you like Alec Ayamano?
I like Higgins a lot more than I like Ayamanor.
Okay.
I like Ferguson.
Yep.
That's left on the board.
But if you move back 3, one of those guys is still probably going to be there.
I think that's true. And then you also get that pick 137. So you're giving up 3 spots here for 29 spots later. I kind of like it.
Let's do it.
Let's accept the trade. Make the trade.
All right. Ursery's still there.
Ayamanor's still there.
Ferguson from Oregon.
Ferguson's very interesting. I love his build. I love his athleticism. Very light on his feet. Good hands. I think he can be a decent blocker. I don't think he's a great blocker now, but I think he can be even better. I mean, Terrence Ferguson, Kate Stover would be kind of fun. Schultz and Ferguson. I mean, I think you could have and do some good things with Terrence Ferguson here.
But is there a red light blinking over Ursery because he's like the 56th bet? I mean, I know we've gone O-line heavy so far, but
There is.
You keep. You take that best player available and just do it?
I mean, best player available, I'd probably do it. I mean, he's a right tackle if he's a tackle. Big, strong. I mean, really strong dude. Kind of stiff-legged. It's hard to fall in love with him. He's one of those guys that really kind of grew on me in this process. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I absolutely love him. But at 92, I think that would be a really good fit. I think Ursery's hard to look away from, but I think by the time we pick again, I think Ferguson will be off the board. Now, there are some tight ends in this group that are nice guys. I'm not saying nice guys. I'm saying like nice picks.
You'd like that.
I would like it, but I think it's hard to turn away from a tackle like Ursery at this point in the 3rd round. So I think that's
taking Ursery.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's do it.
Hey, what have we heard all off season long? Texans got to protect better.
Yeah, they got to protect better.
In one way or another, that's going to help you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're picking 137. That's from that trade. We're moving. We're grooving. Jalen Reed is the top prospect there, safety from Penn State. You see some of these other names. Belton, another tackle. We're not going to do that. Jamari Caldwell, defensive tackle down there. You got Jordan Phillips in the mix. What are you thinking here?
All right, Drew, because I have I'm now 53, so I've gotten older, and so my brain doesn't work as much. I'm trying to remember. Can you click on my picks and what we've done thus far?
Yes.
So we kind of update the people. So we drafted Booker at 25. We took Travion Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State, 58. Good value there. Jared Wilson, the center from Georgia. We took the best center I have in the draft. And Arante Ursery from Minnesota at number 92. So we've gone guard, tackle, center. So we've really bolstered offensively and taken Travion Henderson. couple names that I see there that I like. I mean, Ollie Gordon is if we hadn't taken TreVeyon Henderson, I would think about Ollie Gordon. Dylan Sampson, we've already gotten kind of a better version in TreVeyon Henderson, but a very similar model, if you will. They're, one's a Corolla, one's a Tercel. If you remember the Toyota, I don't know why I use Toyota, but I guess Toyota because it says right above it. Anthony Belton is a guy I would think, but man, we've already gotten 3 offensive linemen. I would take Belton, convert him to a guard. Jamari Caldwell is really, really interesting to me. He and Jordan Phillips provide some size, what I've been talking about all along, athletic size. I think Jamari Caldwell is like 325, a little shorter and stouter, but quick, agile, played University of Houston before he went to Oregon. Yeah. I felt like he tore dudes up at the Senior Bowl. Jordan Phillips had a really good Shrine Bowl up in Frisco, up in Dallas. I think you could go either one on the defensive line. I'm going to lead Caldwell just because he went to U of H.
Go Cougs. All right, let's take him.
Go Cougs.
Let's take him.
Let's go Cougs. Come on, Jamari Caldwell.
All right.
Now we don't pick for a while now.
Yeah, the names are coming off the board.
Long time.
Yeah, we've gone.
We don't pick again until 236.
Texans have gone trenches and running back in this draft.
And then trenches on both sides of the ball. All right.
Okay,
here we go.
This name, excuse me, Peter Brady right there, for those of you who are old and used to watch the Brady Bunch. My voice was cracking. This name, Ingram Dawkins, this is tantalizing to me because it sounds like he can play a lot of things, but I want to hear you and I have not talked about him, but there's a lot of great names that intrigue me. Him, I really like the Jalen Conyers.
Yes.
I want to hear what you think about him.
Yes.
He's a tight end, and the Texans have not taken a tight end in this draft. I also want to hear your thoughts on Hawes. Tim Smith, defensive tackle out of Alabama, has been taken in some mocks. We see Antoine Wells.
Yeah.
He's a wide receiver out of Ole Miss. What are you thinking here? Do you like Ingram Dawkins?
Let's talk about Ingram Dawkins. A little bit lighter interior player, which I think the Texans have enough of. Now, he, good motor, plays hard, plays heavy, plays violent. I like that. I don't love the fit. Plus, we already gotten Caldwell, so I think we've done enough on that D-line. Zeke Biggers would be a guy I'd look at because he's longer and really athletic for a dude that's 310-ish. Conyers is kind of like a more tight end version of Taysom Hill. He can play wildcat. He can play fullback. I want to say he's got quarterback in his system. They would use him at wildcat at Texas Tech. He's just kind of a play creator. Very, very intriguing to me. But let's flash down to 234. It's the guy I've been waiting for. Was hoping he was still on the board. When everybody talks about tight end for this team, they're talking about the top end guys in this draft, but I don't think it's really what the Texans absolutely need. What the Texans need at tight end is somebody that can swap paint with a 6 technique, that just goes to battle, is violent as a blocker.
Okay. That's your guy, Jackson.
I love the fact that Jackson Hawes is an Ivy Leaguer, graduated Yale, had 1 year of eligibility, transferred on Georgia Tech, and it was his blocking and his physicality that kind of caught everybody's attention. Now, at the Senior Bowl, he was very, very active catching the football. I thought he had good soft hands. I was really impressed. I was probably more impressed with that than his blocking, but throughout the season, it's his blocking, his physicality that get it. To me, this is Jackson Hawes all day to get that kind of inline wide tight end you're looking for.
Kaboom. 5 picks later.
Okay.
Math is hard. That's the 241. That's your final pick.
Yeah. Now, one thing we can do on this, let's click on the offensive tab, Drew, and let's just look at the wide receivers that are there. And I think the wide receivers that are there, and I'm gonna make a case for one of them here that I really – here are the receivers that are on the board. Antoine Juice Wells from Ole Miss, playmaker, had a great career at South Carolina before he went to Ole Miss. Probably better at South Carolina than Ole Miss. Not a flyer, but I think it would be a good fit in this room. Then you got Ja'Cory Brooks from Louisville, I would be very happy with. Brew McCoy, I've been following forever. It's injuries, issues. Keandre Lambert-Smith can fly. It would be a steal potentially to find him here. But the guy that gets interesting to me is, 2 guys. Efton Chisholm from Eastern Washington.
Why?
Makes you miss in a phone booth. He had one of the better 3-cone times, and it shows on the field. That dude will shake anybody. He's got amazing quickness. Now, he's not fast. He's like a 4.7 40. But he's a slot receiver du jour. The guy that might provide more of that and more speed is Jimmy Horton Jr. from Colorado. Whenever I watch Colorado, he was the guy that always impressed me. Obviously, Travis Hunter always impresses, but Jimmy Horn Jr. was the guy that you went, man, he's running away from guys. He's making plays. I think Jimmy Horn Jr. right here.
That's the call.
Would be the 7th round. I would really like to see him with the Texans. So let's do that.
All right.
He's a little bit more of a slot guy, but he's got speed out of the slot. There are different kinds of slot. Like Chisholm from Eastern Washington is more kind of the true slot, kind of the whips and pivots and, working the chaos in the short, 5 to 7 yard range. Then there's kind of Christian Kirk who plays in the slot, but is dangerous out of the slot because he can run slot fades. He can run posts. I wrote an article.
You wrote a really good article about this.
I appreciate that. On HoustonTexans.com, where he isolates the safety and beats him one-on-one with speed. I think Jimmy Horn is kind of a mix of both. I think he can really work that chaos into shallow areas, but then he's got the speed to be able to burn down the field. So I like getting him in the 7th round.
All right. Look at that. The Texans made 7 picks, and only one of them was on defense. That's wild. I don't think you'll see that, but this is what we had.
Yeah.
And these were the options in front of us. You couldn't – I mean, you walk away a winner, I think, after round 1. And then it's icing on cake, and I've used this again, icing on icing with Jared Wilson. And then from there, you get some good – I mean, it's good players all around. I like this. I like this draft a lot,
so,
man.
Drew, you and I kind of have, live similar existences in a sense that, Texans fans will take out their vitriol on us in sense, whether it's comments or they see you in the store like, Drew, what the hell are they doing? Well, what's the one thing we heard about all year long? The offensive line. Well, you can't be dismayed with what we just did with the offensive line because we added potential starters at all 3 positions, center, guard, and tackle. We got the guy.
We've made the competition supremely fierce.
Yeah.
It was already going to be fierce. It's supremely fierce.
Right. And that's, I think, exactly what you want to be able to get the best 5 battle-tested dudes out of that room. You get a guy in Booker that is thought to be an alpha. And I remember when I wrote that about Will Anderson Jr., I remember thinking, okay, I would love to see it in Texas locker room. And not only has that been a big factor in Texas locker room, he set the tone for the way other people should think about the Texans, and any players coming in this building should think about playing for the Texans. Yeah. And so hopefully Booker is that kind of guy. But, we heard so much about the offensive line. You can't sit there and go, well, what are you doing? That's too much on the offensive. No.
Making it better.
There's no such thing as too much on the offensive line. And I give you this. Last year, it was about this time, the Philadelphia Eagles signed a tackle that had busted with the Jets. Couldn't play, too fat, too big, just didn't get it done. And the Eagles had all these players already. They already had them on hand. And they signed Mekhi Becton. And it was like, what's really Becton going to do for them? He's not going to play tackle. You're going to put him at guard? He didn't really fit at guard. But Becton wins the competition, ends up being the starter, and ends up being one of the better guards in the NFL last year, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm not saying that's all going to work, but that was a situation in which, well, is that overkill on the offensive line? You didn't have to pay a lot for him, but still, you got all these guys on the offensive line. You add another piece. No, it panned out. So us drafting 3 different offensive linemen on day 1 and day 2, that's exactly what that painting needed. That room needed to be painted, and it needs all the paint possible to throw up on the canvas.
Because what happens if C.J. Stroud has that extra half second?
That's right.
What happens if
That's
C.J.
exactly
Stroud
right.
is not getting knocked around?
That's right.
10 times a game. He's only getting knocked around 4 times a game. What happens then with the offense? The guys you have there who are your playmakers, they're a little bit more explosive.
That's right.
Because CJ has time.
That's exactly right. So all that about, too much investment in the trenches. To me, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
There's no such thing
for what we saw
as too much investment in the
December,
trenches.
In January.
Yes.
He, on average, this was the magic number. And I believe we've talked about this, but the magic number it seemed for the Texans last year was 4.
4 sacks. Yeah, that's right. I remember
he got
saying
stacked 4 or more times. The Texans went 2 and 8.
Yep.
If it was less, it was kind of like you reversed the number.
Yep, exactly.
So you can't. And last year, for the first time in a long time, maybe ever, I don't know, I need to look this up. The Texans did not have a clean sheet, meaning they did not have a single game where they allowed 0 sacks.
Yeah.
Last game of the year, they would go 1 sack against the Titans, but that was a different kind of scenario.
Yeah, it was. In 2023, they had not a number of games, but they had a handful where they gave up, where they had clean sheets, where they did not give up a sack. And if you went back and looked, those are probably the ones where they had the most offensive output. I remember one was Pittsburgh. I remember that. And that offense that day was pretty damn good in that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that was playing Austin Deculus and Jerron Christian at tackle in that game. So got to get trench help. And I think you just got to get more and bring it to the competition.
That's what the Texans did in this mock draft simulation, and that was so much fun. I can't wait. Okay, I'll be here at the stadium, going to be interviewing the draft picks after they've been taken.
Can't wait.
Mark, the crew, going to be out at the draft party on Thursday night over Discovery Green. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then you'll be here in the building, in the studio Saturday and Friday night and Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a great 3 days stretch as the Texans will get better. Cool with you?
Cool with me. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. This has been In the Lab, presented by Xfinity. For John, I'm Drew. You're you. The three of us had so much fun. Let's get after it, and we'll talk all about these new draft picks next week here on In the Lab.